Hello, my name is Michael Noel, and welcome to my presentation on e-cigarette use among young adults. Before we get started, I will disclose the content that will be covered. In this presentation, you will know the introduction, target population, health problem, behaviors associated with the health problem, selected behavior change model, and the reason why, intervention, projected outcomes, and conclusion. Okay, let's begin. First off, the growing popularity of vaping and e-cigarette use pose a growing urgent public health issue. Many people claim that e-cigarettes are safer and healthier compared to using regular tobacco cigarettes. Although there is evidence that supports this, using e-cigarettes are still harmful. The target population that will be examined are young adults with the ages between 18 and 24 years. The location of this target population is in the state of Nevada. And the health problem that is identified is e-cigarette use. Before I continue on, I would like to go over basic information on what vaping is. Vaping involves inhaling and exhaling aerosol, also known as vapor, that is produced by an e-cigarette or any other similar vaping device. The figure below are examples of different types of devices. There are e-pipes, e-cigars, large-sized tank devices, medium-sized tank devices, rechargeable e-cigarettes, and disposable e-cigarettes. Here are some epidemiological statistics. According to the BRFSS prevalence and trends data reported by the CDC in 2017, the crude prevalence indicated 87.6% of people with the ages between 18 to 24 years were not using e-cigarettes, compared with 91.3% of people with the ages between 25 to 34, 94.7% of people with the ages between 35 to 44 years, 97.2% of people with the ages between 45 to 55 years, 97% of people with the ages between 55 to 64 years, and 97.3% of people with the ages 65 and above. In addition, 12.4% of people with the ages between 18 to 24 years were current e-cigarette users, compared with 8.7% of people with the ages between 25 to 34, 5.3% of people with the ages between 35 to 44, 2.9% of people between the ages 45 to 54, and 2.8% of people with the ages 65 and above. There was not enough data collected for the age group of 55 to 64 for current e-cigarette users. However, this data trends indicated that of the age group of 18 to 24 years, 8.1% were current e-cigarette users that smoked some days, 25.1% were former e-cigarette users, and 62.5% have never used e-cigarettes. There was not enough data collected for what percentage of the age group 18 to 24 years that smoked every day. In comparison of percentages of current e-cigarette users that smoked some days and former e-cigarette users, the age group of 18 to 24 years was greater than all of the other age groups. In addition, in Nevada, 2.5% of adults used e-cigarettes in 2015, while 15.5% of high school students used e-cigarettes in 2017. There are three behaviors associated with e-cigarette use. The first one is the desire to quit smoking tobacco cigarettes. Many seek e-cigarettes to curb their cravings of smoking cigarettes. Although this does help some individuals achieve this behavior change, it may produce an undesired behavior where an individual still smokes alongside with vaping, which is also known as dual use. Second, there is the held belief that vaping is harmless and does not develop any negative health consequences. Risk factors with inhaling e-cigarette aerosol include nicotine, ultrafine particles that can be lodged in the lungs, flavoring like diacetyl, a chemical associated with profound lung disease, volatile organic compounds, carcinogenic chemicals, and heavy metals like nickel, tin, and lead. It is mistakenly identified as water vapor. Moreover, Most e-cigarettes contain nicotine, a highly addictive stimulant which can cause negative health consequences, such as damaging the developing brain that does not stop until around the age of 25 years old. Lastly, a third health behavior that is associated with e-cigarette use is the thought that vaping is trendy and other people do it. In other words, social influence and vape culture encourage the behaviors of using e-cigarettes and vaping. An increase in popularity of vaping could possibly renormalize smoking. There is a possible connection that vaping is a gateway drug to partaking in other addictive drugs, including smoking tobacco. This could undo the extensive work done in the past to lower the prevalence of smoking. Advertising of e-cigarettes makes it more difficult. More than $125 million was spent on marketing by tobacco companies in 2014. Also, social media plays a role. The vape culture includes people showcasing impressive vaping tricks. This could play a significant role in why young adults are captivated to start vaping. The behavior change model that I decided to execute for this public health issue of e-cigarette use among young adults is the health belief model, HBM. The reason why I chose this theory is because a majority of individuals that use e-cigarettes believe that vaping would support them to quit smoking tobacco. These formal smokers claim that they are healthier vaping compared to when they used to smoke tobacco cigarettes. E-cigarettes have the capability of being a substitute for regular cigarettes and other tobacco products. These are examples of perceived benefits. Another reason is the belief that regular tobacco cigarettes are more detrimental than it is beneficial. Several risk factors include cancer, cardiovascular disease, pulmonary disease, and reproductive and developmental effects. Types of cancers include oropharynx, larynx, esophagus, trachea, bronchus, lung, acute myeloid leukemia, stomach, liver, pancreas, kidney and urethra, cervix, bladder, and colorectal. This is an example of perceived severity. An intervention that I believe that will positively affect this issue is implementing free lectures that bring awareness of the risks and harms of using e-cigarettes and to encourage current e-cigarette users to gradually decrease the amount of nicotine being used until they stop using it entirely. This could persuade and educate current users of the potential risks they are putting themselves at. There should be open discussions where people are able to communicate their values, perceptions, and opinions. The atmosphere would be sympathetic, non-judgmental, and understanding. Members would not have to worry about being ostracized or judged by other members or the instructor. The main purpose of the classes is to convince current e-cigarette users to quit vaping and abstain from smoking overall. The classes would be held weekly. The size of the classes would depend on how many members sign up to be in the classes. The location would depend on the majority vote on where it will be held at. The duration of these classes would typically last for at least 3 months. Each class meeting, the instructor would advise those participants that use nicotine to decrease the level or strength of nicotine that is delivered by their e-cigarettes. After the 2 following weeks, the instructor would ask the participants to decrease the nicotine delivery by another notch. This would continue until there is 0 nicotine delivered. After successfully abiding to the instructions, the participants then can focus on breaking the routine of vaping. Why? I find the weaning method more effective compared to quitting cold turkey. I feel that it would be too stressful and difficult for individuals to quit smoking entirely in one go. I believe to quit smoking overall, people will need guidance and encouragement from their support group and to slowly reduce the frequency at which they smoke. The construct of the health belief model, HBM, that I am trying to influence is the self-efficacy of individuals. I want these participants to feel confident in knowing that they can quit with the necessary tools and support. They are not alone in the process of quitting smoking overall. I have 3 expected outcomes from this health belief model. A decrease in prevalence of young adults using e-cigarettes by at least 0.5%. People acknowledging and sharing information that they learned from attending the free lectures, and more people engaging in wholesome and helpful daily activities. It would definitely not be an easy process to execute, but I believe that the work contributed over time will eventually decrease the amount of e-cigarette users. In conclusion, e-cigarette use among young adults is indeed a growing public health issue. Although there is evidence that claim that using e-cigarettes are healthier and safer compared to regular tobacco cigarettes, that does not mean that e-cigarettes do not pose any health threats. The publicity and popularity of e-cigarettes contribute to the increasing prevalence of young adults using e-cigarettes. These are my references. Thank you for listening and/or watching my presentation. I hope you have a good day. Goodbye.